Obi-Wan Kenobi, bad. And if you don't agree, you can at least concede that like most Disney-era Star Wars media, it split the fandom right down the middle. The execs don't seem to have any plans for a season 2, minus Ewan McGregor wanting people to see him go through another 6-hour exposure therapy session for his TDS. Before we begin, let's address the discourse surrounding the show, and the show's graceful response to fans follows the good old formula here. Soulless corporation hijacks established franchise with a bad story and intersectional characters. Fans don't like and call show bad. Showrunners call fans racist. Fans hulk out and hate on intersectional characters more. Yeah, shows that inject forced social identity politics almost always mean the story's gonna be bad, because the foremost priority isn't good storytelling, and to hide that, these shows substitute narrative quality with some minorities. Psychologically, it's become natural to associate a bad show with the inclusion of token characters because it feels like these characters represent what has gone wrong with our beloved franchises. All of this can be true, but also, fans need to stop falling for the race baiting. I'm not saying that Reva is the best character ever, far from it, but the title of worst character is fought for by Disney plus Obi-Wan Kenobi, the entire cast of the sequel trilogy, Jar Jar Binks, prequel Anakin. Need I say more? How can there be so much vitriol against Reva with what Kenobi does at the end of his own show? That hoe spears Vader again, even though he's aware of the atrocities Vader has committed and will keep on committing. Vader ain't gonna stop his genocidal rampage through the universe just because Kenobi cried in front of him. And he has the galls to tell Reva to let it go, just like how he let Space Hitler go.
See ya!
Yes, vengeance, bad. But how about justice? Mercy to the evil is injustice to the innocent. Here's an analogy. Stay with me. Galvanic anodes are made of metal alloy with a more active voltage than the metal of the structure that you're seeking to preserve from oxidation. The difference in potential between the two metals means that the galvanic anode corrodes, so that the anode material is consumed in preference to the structure. The loss of the anode material gives rise to the alternative name of sacrificial anode. Hear me out. The show installed Reva as the sacrificial anode, and the fans fell for it. You stupid little oxygen molecules. Let me get the record straight. I hate the cheap racism allegations showrunners fling at fans for having any problems with the show, but this reactionary anti-SJW mentality can get just as bad, and we're not proving them otherwise by blindly seething at the black woman. Also, are you telling me that Reva is worse than Rey? A literal embodiment of printer paper.
There is only one thing worse than
A woman.
Boom.
A black.
No.
Rey starts off as nothing. She's doing nothing. She doesn't want anything. Then Finn literally runs into her. Rey's quite literally the blank female protagonist we could project ourselves onto. We don't even know why Rey wants to join Finn, other than some vague tangential desire to find out about her parents. We don't know why she's a good person. She just is. Reva's narrative role could have added more color to the story had it been written by people who were not handing Xanax around the writer's room. She had the potential to be a compelling character. After all, she was directly impacted by Anakin's evil, and thus would have strong motivations from the get-go. All things shitty about a show doesn't necessarily originate from these token characters. The token characters can be merely symptoms of the bad writing itself. Of course, we can make fun of these characters, hence this YouTube channel, but we shouldn't be blinded by them. So, I want to reiterate my stance. This show is written terribly. Not a single character comes out of this unscathed, and whoever is unfortunate enough to have even a bit of spotlight in this show is made into a buffoon. Key points of pre-established canon are contradicted or even retconned. All that being said, I think Kenobi is a great comedy starring Reva.
Yep, that's me.
As with his portrayal of Black Mask in record-breaking critical and commercial success Birds of Prey,
Ewan McGregor must have felt like he needed to channel Trump in his return to Star Wars because in this show, like Black Mask, Obi-Wan is quite the dastardly villain. Wait, Obi-Wan is one of the good guys? Oh.
Fuck!
It's Obi-Wan's fault for leaving Anakin alive on Mustafar, and again at the end of the show. Every evil act that Vader commits after the show is due to Kenobi's negligence, and even makes him look complicit in these acts. This show should have never been made if it was premised on the fact that Kenobi confronts Vader to get the upper hand and let him go again.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
The show portrays Kenobi as having found peace because he spared Vader? Even though his whole arc in the show is grappling with his guilt about failing his responsibilities as a mentor to Anakin and as a Jedi of the Republic. If I found out the apprentice I thought I left for dead survived and is oppressing the galaxy, I would kick myself too. So how does letting Anakin go again, the same mistake he made the first time, redeem him as a character? Sure, you can say Kenobi was too anguished to finish Anakin off in their first fight and thought, well, I sliced him in half. He's totally gonna die from that if the lava doesn't burn him to death first. That's probably gonna be more painful than me just beheading him. Whatever. The difference is, now he knows Vader's out there oppressing and terrorizing the galaxy. He knows he's too far gone to be saved, as conveyed by the dramatic dialogue.
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
This might be the time for Obi-Wan to fulfill his responsibility as a Jedi. You know, the enforcer of law and peace in the galaxy before the Republic crumbled, and kill Vader. Yeah, I know this destroys the continuity of the original movies, so why would you even have a rematch in a show that ends with Vader at Obi-Wan's mercy? I'll tell you why. All this accomplishes is trapping the writers in a dilemma that breaks canon and or makes Kenobi a tyranny enabler, and the show chose the latter and portrayed it as righteous. Righteous! Also, what happened to the whole philosophy of Jedi and Sith? Isn't the whole Jedi shtick, as pointed out in the prequels, refraining from passions and strong emotions?
Fear of loss is a path to the dark side. Train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose.
Obi-Wan, the vanguard of the old Jedi Order, sees the tragedy of Anakin and the collapse of the society he was tasked with protecting. Does it validate the no emotions policy, or does it bring it into question? I know the comics explore the concept of Grey Jedi, Force users who toe the line between Jedi and Sith, but the show doesn't explore this. Not that the expanded universe was canon anyways. The show continues to affirm the black and white good versus evil binary of Jedi and Sith. In the prequels, Anakin's emotional volatility was the reason he was susceptible to the temptations of the dark side. In this show, Reva's rage was so overwhelming that it blinded her to moral decency. So, is passion bad? But doesn't Kenobi find the will to win the final fight because he's moved by his love for Leia and Luke, and his desire to ensure their safety? How does he reconcile the teachings of his order with the very real grief and depression that he feels in the aftermath of Revenge of the Sith? Is it the Jedi's philosophy to let murderers off the hook because killing them would have a bad emotional implication? That would be interesting to explore. What makes revenge different from justice? Are we ever going to separate the emotional philosophy of the Sith and the stereotypically evil way they're portrayed in mainstream media?
I wield it, but it uses us all, and that is abhorrent to me, because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will, that it would control us to achieve some measure of balance when countless lives are lost.
Will there ever be a mediation between the principles of both sides?
What would you do if there was a child right in front of you?
The show tries to show us that Leia's spunky personality has been on display since childhood, but the show makes Leia an obnoxious brat who is capable of psychoanalyzing people.
You think being like him will make people frightened of you, but really, you're the one who's scared. cousin.
But also doesn't know why people lie to each other.
Coordinates say the meeting point is further north. That is if our new friend was telling the truth.
Why would he lie?
Following in the steps of The Mandalorian, Disney Star Wars tries to leverage another surrogate parent-child dynamic between Obi-Wan and Leia, but it doesn't elevate either character, minus that one time. The dynamic begins when the two meet for the first time. Obi-Wan, after much hesitation, rescues Leia. Leia, who is so smart, doubts his intentions, and there's a clash in personality. Leia's naivete is what eventually spurs Obi-Wan out of his hermit grind set to become the Obi-Wan we know from the prequels, only to return to hermitage at the end of the season.
Obi-Wan makes Leia swear to secrecy of their adventure so the writers can cover their asses from being penetrated by any inconsistencies, even though they already failed in that regard. Compare this to the dynamic between Carl and Russell in Up, a much better piece of media. Carl becomes a hermit after losing his wife. He's abandoned the outside world and endeavors to move his house to Paradise Falls, the place his wife always dreamed of going, and presumably die there. When he sets out to the falls, he unwittingly takes young Boy Scout Russell with him, who is previously badgering Carl to help him so he can earn his last badge. Like Obi-Wan and Leia, Carl's grumpy cynicism is contrasted with Russell's childlike optimism, and Carl warms up to him as he tries to send him home. At the climax of the film, Carl realizes he needs to let go and live his life, and he returns to the world through his relationship with Russell, who he's willing to put his life at risk for. Both of these characters have an emotional need that is filled by the other within the context of the narrative. Carl saw no reason to continue living in this world, and Russell expressed that his father was unavailable, physically and emotionally. Obi-Wan and Leia's dynamic lacks this simple emotional depth, and any significance it might have is censored to accommodate the walking on eggshells that is abiding canon. Anyways, I'm done shilling for Pixar movies. Ratatouille's my favorite.
Leia is also weirdly progressive in the show, to the extent that other characters find it odd.
Lola, say hello.
He's just a loader. They don't allow them to communicate.
But what if he has something to say?
It seems more than an explanation for her attachment to Lola. Rather, it's placed in contrast to the bigotry other organic life forms show to droids to make her look more just and heroic. It kind of reminds me of Lando's social justice droid girlfriend in Solo, and makes me question whether Disney is trying to use droids as some kind of allegory for minorities, which doesn't work because droids are robots that are made of nuts and bolts and simulated consciousness. No, not the robots from the hit 2005 movie Robots, who deserve all the rights. I, as a minority, don't think I'm the same as a droid, to be honest.
Oh my god, Hayden Christensen is back. Hayden oppa! 사랑해요! Fighting! Bulgogi!
What was it like for you seeing Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi in a lightsaber fight in that episode?
Just thrilling.
I'm happy that Hayden Christensen got his check. I feel like the extent of Vader's presence and appeal in the show is that he's Darth Vader, and also that guy we knew who played him 20 years ago may or may not be in that suit sometimes. Post-OT material, in all their prudence and grace.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Not like here. Here everything is soft.
Don't scare me, please. What's going on?
Clunkily add child murder to the list of Anakin's feats, which, combined with the destruction of Alderaan, makes his redemption even more unbelievable. The key players of Anakin's arc presented to us are his master, his evil master, and his kids. What about the people he personally hurt? The innocent children, Tusken or Jedi?
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead. Every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women and the children, too.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Were the victims caught in the crossfire of his fall to the dark side? Reva just happened to be the only one on screen who survived getting stabbed by him. Twice. I'm not saying Vader needs to send out apology letters, but if you want him to be redeemed, you should at least have him face the personal consequences of the crimes he committed. Hot take, but the only thing Vader might have redeemed himself for at the end of Return of the Jedi was being a bad dad, and his villainy is sort of undermined by Luke's insistence that there is good in him this whole time, despite chopping his hand off. "This ain't you, Pa. I know you're in there somewhere. I'll bring you out no matter how many appendages you chop off, no matter how many planets you destroy. I'm never gonna give you up. I'm never gonna let you down. I'm never gonna run around and desert you." In the show proper, Vader feels less like the antagonist and more like a plot device for Obi-Wan's 6-hour therapy session. There are times when I swear he becomes one with the set. Other than that, he just looms in the background as Obi-Wan's trauma personified. Until it's time for the finale when the writers try to appeal to nostalgia with Duel of the Fates 2, Electric Boogaloo. The Kenobi writers copied the homework a little too well because Obi-Wan triumphs over Vader yet again and spares him, against all reason.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
We're led to believe that Obi-Wan is relieved of his guilt because Vader says he killed Anakin, so Obi-Wan has no accountability for what happened. As if he was told he was not the father on the Maury show, Obi-Wan wipes his hands clean and goes back to Tatooine to watch over Luke, until it's time to face Vader. I smell bullshit.
A lot of people take issue with Reva's introduction into the canon, for varying reasons, myself included. For whatever reason, Disney has retconned not one, not two, but 3 women into being the most important characters in Star Wars. In the finale, Luke's life is held in Reva's hands through contrived means, and her decision to spare him accomplished 2 things: a last-ditch attempt to make us root for her character, and by sparing Luke, the one who stops Vader, she indirectly saves the galaxy. In spite of this, I found her to be the most enjoyable character in the show, with a compelling performance resulting from the apparent lack of chemistry between the actress Moses Ingram and director Deborah Chow's vision of her character.
I can feel you. Your fear betrays you. You don't have to worry. You're not going to die today. And I will be the one to deliver you to him. Who's in the gutter now?
Can't find Obi-Wan! You can't escape him! We will find you! We will destroy you!
How can you not adore Reva? She brought a smile to my face every time she was on screen. The concept of Reva's character had something going for it. That execution, not so much. The show tries to convince us that Reva was spurred to aid Vader and Palpatine with oppressing the galaxy, or at the very least, hunting Jedi down, chopping hands off, and torturing kids, because Vader took everything from her. It's a poor argument, and not exactly the most intuitive way to seek justice, but that was at least Reva's stated desire. She's so blinded by rage at the order that failed to protect her and the younglings, and at herself for being so weak and helpless, that she's willing to do anything to prove her strength. She's so blinded by her anger that it manifests in a volatile, impetuous disposition, just like a certain Jedi in the original trilogy. Reva's source of rage is more believable than Anakin's source of rage. Reva wants revenge. Anakin commits mass murder because he's scared Padme might die. Even though both do comically evil things, one seems to have a more compelling, believable motivation. So here's my stance. If you're a Darth Vader, Anakin stan, you don't have the sound ground to decry Reva as the worst character ever. You guys know Vader doesn't have a dick to suck, right? Obi-Wan telling Reva to simply let go as he did is kind of a slap to the face to Darth Vader's victims.
I couldn't do it. I failed him. He killed them all and I couldn't do it.
You haven't failed them by showing mercy. You have given them peace. You have honored them.
Have I become him?
No. You've chosen not to. Who you become now, that is up to you. Now you're free. We both are.
Because it's good enough that Obi-Wan has come to terms with the fact that Darth Vader is no longer the bipolar apprentice he once knew.
Anakin.
Anakin's gone.
Sorry.
The old Anakin.
Can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh.
'Cause he's dead.
I am what remains. I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Oh, I guess Anakin's really gone? That's all I needed. This Vader guy, we don't really have any quarrel. It's dumb, and it makes him look like a self-righteous villain. It doesn't even follow Jedi procedure because they have orders to destroy Sith on sight. After losing her breakdance fight with Vader in episode 5, Reva reaches her lowest point, and because Obi-Wan dropped his phone through very contrived chance, Reva discovers that Luke Skywalker is on Tatooine, and is Vader's son. She resolves to kill him in a desperate attempt to get back at Vader in some way. She corners Luke, but before she kills him, she hallucinates her youngling self in his place, and realizes that she almost became the kitty killer she sought to destroy. I would have preferred if the scene had gone without the hallucination to make the emotional revelation more ambiguous and not spoon-fed.
Camp. Cheese. And everything cringe.
Sister, I can stand the reek of your ambition no longer.
That seat is mine, not yours. I am the next in line.
Revenge does wonders for the will to live, don't you think? We will leave you where we found you. In the gutter where you belong.
Lola could have been the Azula of this generation. The constant tugging of Lola between the light and dark side was almost too much for my heart to handle. When Lola attacked Leia, I was crying out in anguish. This isn't you, Lola. Fight the dark side. You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them.
I love the silly way the show conveys that Lola's been hacked by Reva by turning her lights red. It's kind of like the visual cues that contrast the Jedi and the Sith. You remember the very subtle way Star Wars told us Han Solo got his name?
Solo.
And where the fuzzy dice in the Millennium Falcon came from? Disney did that yet again with Leia's holster, because it's not enough that she simply owns one.
Look at this dude.
Tala is that. Her sole purpose is to pass her holster down to Leia and be the strong female character that influenced her into becoming the strong female character she is in the original trilogy. It's like poetry. It falls on your head from 5 stories up. They may as well have committed and had a scene of Tala showing Leia how to shoot, Giving the writers the benefit of the doubt, it seems like they ran out of time for someone as important as Tala and gave her a stupid anime death, complete with exposition of her backstory moments before her dramatic death. What we were missing was the flashbacks of her entire life before blowing herself up. When Wade died, I was thrown into the deepest pits of hell. And would you look at that, I talk longer than his screen time.
Do you bleed?
Well, everybody bleeds.